What's going on, YouTube family? This is Astinosis here, coming at you with another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we are going to go ahead and reboot the newbie guide that I created about a year ago that helped people get started. Now, I'm not going to rehash the entire thing because a majority of the information does remain the same, and I will be leaving a link to in the description below and also in the pinned comments so you guys can have some easy access. I do apologize yet again for its length. At the time, I didn't know what I wanted it to be. I just kind of started talking and went with it. Anyway, there's three things that I first want to point out. Actually, no, four. Take that back, make that four. Now, first of all, this video is going to assume that you have at least done that very first chapter, which introduces you to a fair amount of the mechanics in the game. It's going to give you lots of in-game notices that you need to read, which brings me to part two. Make sure you're reading all the in-game tutorials, all the notices. It gives you majority of the information that you need to get started in this game. Next, make sure you research anything. For example, you have Dissidia DB from REM, you have Tonberry Troops, Tonberry website. I'll leave those also in the description below. It's important to actually read all this stuff because it has information that the game itself unfortunately does not provide on its own. Don't know why it doesn't do that. Not much we can do, but that's just the game when it has limits. Next, make sure you save your friend code. Those of you have probably played gacha games in the past. You already know that you can reroll. Once you're done rerolling, make sure you save that friend code. Now, when you're thinking about rerolling, there's going to be the start dash banner that's going to probably attract you. It's going to have fan favorites like Lightning, Squall, and Cloud. Well, unfortunately, they're going to get you through early game content, but they have fallen off very quickly in recent events, so you're going to want to consider not necessarily re-rolling for them, but instead look at the other banners that are currently active. For example, if you're starting as of today, you currently have access to Dog Penis Hands banner, aka Jegrin, which also has Rude's LD, and then it also has alongside of it Huja with his burst and also 8. Now, these characters unfortunately aren't as great now. However, if you can get them, they will help you get through some of the earlier content. Which brings me to my next point. You will not complete all the end game content. Just like a traditional JRPG, you're not going to complete every little thing that you come across. That's just the name of the game. It's like saying if you started Final Fantasy VI and you're going to go through and beat every single super boss. Just not going to happen. It's just not. So, back to the banners. You have Saw's LD still available. You have Palom LD still available. Saw's is a great call to have for your team. Now, again, calls is going to assume that you have leveled up. I can get a little bit more in depth in that in a little bit, but for the sake of this video, let's keep going. Next, you have Fran available with her LD and entire kit. Then you also have Mog. Again, I'm not going to rehash all the weapons because that information still remains the same from my last video. I can go a little bit more in depth in a separate video if you guys would like me to regarding building all the weapons. That's fine. Next up, you have Machina. Now, Machina is in this interesting situation where a lot of players assume that because we are about to enter what's called the 90 CP area, so that right now means currently you can level your characters to Crystal Strength level 80 and Character level 80. We are about to be able to do that to Crystal Strength level 90 and Character level 90. Machina is considered to have been cucked. This is a very bad hot take because he is actually very strong and can dish out a lot of damage. Alongside him, you have Pain, who, when used correctly, can do some very awesome things for your team, whether it's buffing your team or debilitating the enemy. Then we have some other banners coming up that are unfortunately unconfirmed. For example, we don't know what's going on with Vanille. JP had Vanille by this point in the game. We have not. We don't know what's going on with her. Now, so as mentioned in my earlier video from last year, you have tons, as a new or returning player, you're going to have tons of resources to farm. So what I would recommend is going through your lost chapters and making sure that you farm those, because those will give you quick gems. And then when you have the characters to build, you start going through their summon boards. Now, I would recommend waiting until what's called a the Super Synergy, because that will allow you to farm these summon boards a lot faster. Now, along that note, everyone gets their first Mog Pass for free. I do not remember if it was the $5 one or the premium one, but your first Mog Pass is free. That Mog Pass will allow you to gain character board points and summon board points much faster than normal. So highly recommend you take advantage of that. And honestly, it's probably better to wait until we have an event where ultimate summons are boosted, so that way you get the triple effect for your wild points, and also excuse me, and also for the character in general. This will help you build the characters faster. Now, this game is going to come off as very daunting at first because there's so much to do and there's lots to build. Now, one of the things that I missed in my last video that I completely forgot to talk about, and I'm going to speak about it briefly here, is there is something called Mogs Gym. Now, Mogs Gym takes those basic tutorials and takes it to the next level and teaches you even more. I forgot about this because it came out probably a year or two after the game originally came out, and I've been playing this game for 4 years now, only on the global side. Don't ask me JP questions. I can refer you to people if you want to be a JP player. But these events, these Mogs Gyms, what they do for you is they give you extra resources that allow you to understand a little bit more about how the game mechanics work and how to build team comps. And regarding team comps, I am going to go through a more in-depth team comp building video to help you guys understand a little bit more about what it means to build team comps, because we see players putting together characters that do a lot of damage, but they have no support. For example, like if you were to put Jegrin with Machina and Cloud of Darkness together, for example, there's damage there, yes, but it's going to be limited because there's not going to be any auras that help boost the damages. And this is where calls and everything else comes into play as well. So now, are there ways to get around that a little bit with burst plus effects? Yes, of course. But the idea is that you don't want to just throw in 3 pure DPS units just willy-nilly, especially early on, because you're going to struggle. There's going to be fights that you struggle with. Some fights that will work with, a lot of the ones that you want to get through will not, because you want to be able to build up to gaining those Lufenia tokens, those burst tokens, and all that good stuff. That's for more end game. But again, when you're a new player, you want to just start off on getting through the newer content and getting through just the basics, so that way you can build up slowly. Don't rush yourself or you're going to stress yourself out. That's the biggest tip that I can give to new players. And the other thing that I want to reiterate is join communities, join discords, join groups, Reddits, whatever. Talk to people and be wary of the hot takes, but also just ask honest questions. Be very specific about what you need, so that way we can better help you. As an example, we managed to help players get through in the early Lufenia era within a few weeks, that's not even that person playing all day every day. They were just playing basically. Now, regarding the crystal events, now one thing I wanted to touch up on briefly, which I didn't do last time, is you'll notice if you look up cycle quests, you're probably going to see old school where we had 5 stages of each of these. Now it's only 3. If I recall correctly, when we get to level 90, eventually these are going to upgrade to have 4 stages. Now currently you can farm up to tier 4 crystals with these cycle events, and unfortunately the tier 4 crystals are still slightly rare, so the best way to get those tier 4 and tier 5 crystals do come from new events and raids as they come out. But you do have the ability to get the tier 4 when you farm these, especially if you luck out and get a Cactuar with a K to come out. Now, upcoming characters that I would recommend for the C90 era to not sleep upon. Now, leading up to that, we have Snow's LD with Lion's LD. Snow will eventually return with the burst. On that note, again, favorites before metas. That's honestly the real name of the game. Metas do great, but also favorites can work. They put in the work. And we're about to enter that C90 era where pretty much every character, except for maybe Onion Knight, is going to be really good. On that note, when we hit the C90 era, Knoll is going to be insane. And this is where Onion Knight, RIP, does not get a rework. But the one that I would honestly be on the lookout for in this case is Sarah. Sarah, for us in Global, got an early LD rework that unfortunately JP did not get. She was essentially dead upon arrival. But with that rework that she gets in JP, plus those LD boards that she got for us, she is an amazing support that debilitates the enemy, and also provides a lot of support auras to make your characters do a lot more damage. And then moving forward from there, there's so many resources to farm, and lots of great characters coming. For example, Lloyd, whatever the hell whatever his name is, he's a great one. And this is where I am going to go into more team building in another video, where I kind of show you guys what you're looking for, because it is important to read this information. Again, reading is important. Josh from Square Enix will say it himself. Reading is important. There's only so much you can read in the game, and so that's why I will, in the team building video, I'll be using the Tonberry Troops infographics in order to help showcase that, to kind of show you guys what you're looking for when you're building these teams. And again, I will include the description from my previous video in the video description and pinned comment below, to kind of give you guys an idea of the other stuff that I've covered, because again, there's no sense in me reinventing the wheel, recovering absolutely everything that I went through before, because otherwise this video then becomes a long, convoluted mess. Anyway, I do hope that this guide helps you guys get started out a little bit. Oh, on that note, before I end, another one that I just remembered is that new players get special choco missions. If I can, I will find a link to some of those guides below that show you guys exactly what to do, because once you guys finish those newbie choco missions, they are gone, and then you get what everybody else gets, such as this stuff right here. So you guys won't see these until you get through those basic ones. On that note, if you guys have any questions or anything that you guys would like me to cover, I have been playing this game for 4 years and quite knowledgeable. I have beaten every single event in the game except for Lenna's original debut, because I did not have the resources back then. But now I've beaten everything, including every single Lufenia Plus. I managed to get even my own Firion Saga all the way to Lufenia Plus. So that being said, this is Nasty Asti signing out.